All right, y'all. So today we're going to be doing some decimal arithmetic. We're going to talk about decimal addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. We're just going to kind of go over the ways to go through the process correctly. When you're doing addition, you want to line up your decimal points. Add zeros after the decimal points so that all of the numbers have the same number of places after the decimal. So if you have, 0.5 and 0.05, you want to add a 0 on the 0.5 so that you have everything lined up. Line up the zeros with the other numbers. Add as you would with whole numbers, okay? And then at the end, you just move the decimal down. So let's look at what that would look like. So if we line up our decimals here, we have 1.38. So we wouldn't put the 2.4, we wouldn't put the 4 under the 8. You have to put it here, so these decimals have to line up above each other, okay? Then we would add a 0 anywhere there's a blank. So what we're going to do is we just add them together. So 8 plus 0 is 8. 4 plus 3 is 7. 2 plus 1 is 3. Then we just move this decimal place down, okay? Really simple. Rules for subtraction. Line up your decimal points. Add zeros after the decimal points so that all of the number places have the same number of places in the decimal. Subtract as you would with whole numbers, and then just move the decimal down. So really, it's just like the addition. You just line up your decimals and subtract. So we line them up, put zeros anywhere there's blank spaces, and subtract. 65.3 minus 42.45 is going to equal 22.85. See, that decimal just comes straight down. All right, now rules for multiplication. Line up your numbers with the last digits under each other. Multiply as you would with whole numbers. Add the decimal places in each of the numbers being multiplied. Move the decimal points to the left, the total number of places being multiplied. Okay, so let's look at what that looks like. The difference here is you don't line up the decimals, okay? You just put everything as far to the right as you can. So what we do here is multiply just as we would. Yeah, line up the numbers with the last digit. So the 3 and the 1, the two last numbers here would be lined up. Then we just multiply it out. Notice here, do I worry about the decimals? Do I bring them down? Do I do anything like that? No. What I do is at the end, I figure out I have 1 decimal place here. I have 2 here. 2 plus 1 is 3 decimal places. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this over. Pull up my little annotate here, and we're going to draw them. We're going to move the decimal starts here. Automatically, you just assume that it's here. So you're going to move it over 1 place. You're going to move it over 2 places. Oh, that looks terrible. Let's redo that. All right. Move it over 2 places. And we're going to move it over 3 places. Okay? It's just as easy as that. All right, so then what we got to do here, just kind of use common sense. When we take those 2 numbers, if I was to go back a screen, if I have 6 times 1, or I'm sorry, 6 times 12. Well, we all know what 6 times 12 is, right? 72. So if my number is 751, is that anywhere close to the, even if I was just multiplying my 2 numbers here, if I was multiplying 6 times 12, I'd get 72. If I'm multiplying and I get 7.5, I know my decimal's not in the right spot. If I get 751, still not in the right spot. My answer needs to be something close to 72, okay? So that's what they're talking about here. So 6 times 12 is 72. So 751, 7.51, and 7,515 are not reasonable answers to this question. But 75.153 is. Does everybody kind of get the concept there? You can check yourself. All right, so now we're going to move on to division. Move the decimal point in the divisor. The number outside of the box is the divisor. To the right, and make it a whole number, okay? Your divisor cannot have a decimal in it. Move the decimal point in the dividend, the number inside the box, to the right the same number of places. Divide as you would with whole numbers. Move the decimal point into the quotient for your answer, directly above the decimal point in your dividend. We'll see what that looks like. I know that's a lot of vocabulary words. So let's look right here. So move the decimal point in the divisor, the number outside of the box, to the right. So what we do is we take this 1.6 and we move it. Oh, I gotta go back. I accidentally clicked. Let me show you what that looks like here. We move it over one place, and it becomes 16. But we also have to move this one over one place, okay? So we end up with 16 and 57.6. And then we just divide it out like normal. The 16 go into 57. 3 times, we get 48. Subtract it out, get 9. Bring the 6 down, and 16 goes into 96. 6 times, you get 96 and it is 0. Then, what we have to do is we have got to bring this decimal up. Okay? It's got to go up, and then it will become 3.6. Okay, so because what you got to think about it is if I divide 57 by 16, it's not going to be 36. That would be crazy, right? 57 divided into 16 pieces is not 36. It's 3.6 because 20 is about 1/3 of 60, which if you round both these up, you're going to get 20 and 60. And 60 divided by 20 would be 3. Use the same kind of check. Uh-oh, got to get rid of my annotation here. All right, there we go. Now we can move on. All right, so another example. What happens if the dividend when there are no more numbers to move the decimal place over? Well, there always is. There's zeros there, right? Just because there's nothing there doesn't mean you don't assume there's a zero. Because this is 8.000000000 forever. Since there is one decimal place in the divisor, we need to move the decimal point in the dividend and the divisor 1 to the right. So the 1.6, we're going to move it over. We're just going to go like so. Pushing buttons. All right. We're going to do this. We're going to move this one over 1 to the right, and we're going to move this one over 1 to the right. You just got to add the 0. It's called a placeholder. Okay? We'll talk about that in the next slide a little more. I just wanted to draw it out so you could see it. All right, so 1.6 divided by, or 8 divided by 1.6 becomes 80 divided by 16, which will give you the same answer. Okay, so then 16 goes into 80 5 times, which is 80, and you end up with 0. And so your answer is just 5. Seems pretty easy when you do it like that, right? All right, so we got another example. 7.5 divided by 32.5. Sorry, it's a really loud airplane, guys. Give it a second. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put those in. And we have to move our decimal place over one place because that 32.5 can't have a decimal place in it. Our divisor can't have one there. So what we got to do is move it over so it'll be 325 and 71.5. And then what we have to do is figure out, does 325 go into 7? Nope. Does 325 go into 1? Nope. Does 325 go into 715? Yes, it does. It goes into it twice. Okay, you'll get 650. You subtract that out and get 65, and then you'll have 650 again, which we already know because we just did it. It goes into it twice, evenly, and we're done. That's it. That is dividing with decimals. All right, so check your answer using just whole numbers, and that's kind of what I did, right? So if I had the 3.6, I rounded it up to 4, or you can round it down to 3. So 6 divided by 2 would be 3. Essentially the same thing, right? So if I had, so say this was 5.7 divided by 1.8. I would know that my answer has to be something close to 3, okay? And if you don't have that, if your answer is just totally not even close, then you know you probably have a decimal in the wrong spot. And you need to go back and recheck your arithmetic, okay? All right, guys. Go ahead and go in, do the attached work. If you have any trouble, let me know, okay? We'll get you figured out. Thank you. Bye.